Good morning. It's Erica of AriBo Arts, and we're here for Battmaking with AriBo Arts. As usual, we're going to be using Sebastian, and I'm actually going to do a quick little fix on Sebastian while I'm waiting for people to gather. I'm going to use my knitting needle. I'm going to tilt you down a little bit. Tomorrow, I'm hoping I will be getting the new battery for my phone. They still haven't contacted me. I suspect they have forgotten. So I'm just going to show up tomorrow and say, fix my phone, because you ordered a battery. I've got a few teeth out of alignment, so I'm just using this to go between the teeth and straighten it out. It helps if I just sort of do rows at a time. Because sometimes when you move one tooth or tine, depending on which terminology you want to use, others move too. So, but particularly if you have teeth that have started to cross, that's going to catch the fiber. And of course, it depends on your brand. If you have like a Clems and Clems, those have like little blades. So I think maintenance on that would be a little bit different. Don't know if the Strouch are also similar. For me, it always tends to be at the end. And then I just sort of roll it along looking. Usually I sort of stand right over it, but then you just see my head, right? But you really have to like look down to see where this is occurring. Or over it, I should say. This particular cloth seems to be in sets of 2. This is a British Carter, and so I don't know if they source their carding fabric from the same place. A lot of places, there's only a few places I think that make carding cloth, and you get the choice of the light blue gray like this or the red. I think it's Ashford that likes the red. Or the Rouettes, I can't remember. One of them likes to use the red. I don't like the red. I can't see the fabric. You would think the contrast would make it easy to see, but my eyes don't like it. I prefer the gray blue. It's also getting a little, I think it's got a little bit of fuzz on there. So it's also getting that out as well. And right before I turned the camera on, I did pull the colors for today. We're going to do teals and sort of flower colors. It's cold. We have our frost warning tonight. So most of my day is actually going to be getting stuff out of my garden. And evidence that I have, you can see how dirty my thumbs are. I have been making pesto, so I'm plucking leaves off of the stalks. I've got 8 plants. Well, I have 7.5 now because I've harvested 1.5. Some of which I don't think are as, I did the ones that were sort of by themselves and really thriving. And I'll do the other one that was really thriving. The other ones got planted too close to the tomatoes, and so they're kind of scraggly and not as good. So if I don't get to them, I don't get to them. That's sort of the way it's going to be. Yesterday, I did harvest the last of my tomatoes and peppers. There's even looked at blossom on one of the pepper plants. And I'm like, you're not going to make it. Okay, so we got a Coopworth here, sort of teal. We have bamboo, also in a teal. This is the Paradise Fiber. It's a word I have trouble with. Too many minimums. Anemone. Some mulberry silk in purple. Some Tussa silk in green. I've used that recently. And then I pulled out, we're going to use that sort of bluey purple Firestar. Yeah, so today is getting, I mean, it got really cold last night. It got down into the 30s, and like the feels like temperature was like in the 20s, I think. So we'll see if the things actually survived last night, or if I'm going to have like, freezer burns on my on my plants. I haven't harvested my Brussels sprouts yet because those like a good frost to make them a little sweeter. And my plants didn't get particularly tall this year, so we'll see what happens. But I am. So this is going to be. Actually, I'm going to put this on. Yeah, let's put this on afterwards. Yeah, so I'm using one of my big, I don't think you can see any of them in my camera. No, you can't. So the big tubs that I use for fiber, I had one that was empty, and so that's what I've been putting chopping the branches off the basil shrubs, some of which are almost as tall. They're at least 4 feet tall. So I'm painting on, this is the mulberry silk. A little clump there, we'll pull that out. And putting that in the tub and then bringing it home, and then I sort of put it in a big sink of water. And I had some trouble because I just went and bought a new food processor because I have a Cuisinart that I've had for decades, but at some point it got put. One of my house sitters, when I was away once, decided she was going to move stuff around, and so she put it on top of my cabinets. Okay, and I've got 12-foot ceilings. My cabinets go really high. She was a very tall woman. I am not. And even with my step stool, I can just reach the top shelf of my cabinets. I can't reach the top. And of course, a Cuisinart and a blender, which was up there too, they're very heavy. So you need a good grip on them to move them. She put them on a part of the cabinets that is right by the window. So I have no place to rest my extension ladder against because I'm not putting it against my glass. So I haven't figured out how to get them down. And I put out a Facebook request for a tall person to help me, and nobody responded. So I finally said, I tried to do it in my little cup blender with a stick blender, and it didn't really work to make the pesto. So last night I was at the Mart of Wall and got myself a new food processor. And then there was an issue because the price on the shelf did not match what came up, and I said this is a significant difference. And they actually gave it to me or sold it to me for the price that was on the shelf, because it turns out the food processor wasn't even supposed to be out on the floor. But there were two of them. And so, yeah, so I got a new food processor. An additional food processor. And I actually quite like it. So yeah, well, I'm liking those colors there. So I also my Italian parsley did really, really well this year. So I'm going to harvest that. I'll use a little bit fresh, and I'm going to make a big tabbouleh. Probably grab some of the mint. So I got 3 kinds of mint growing in my garden. And then I'm trying to decide, my rosemary is also beautiful. And I can't really grow plants in my condo. It just faces north. It's cold, all that. Because otherwise I would just dig the rosemary up and replant it and bring it inside. But I think I'm going to clip those off and maybe dry those. Don't know if it would overwinter if I put a lot of straw over it or something. I wanted to get garlic in the ground to have garlic next year, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, it's supposed to be warmer next week, but I don't know. I've never done garlic before. There. Okay, where is my brush? There we go, burnishing brush. Yeah, so I'm making bats, obviously, for my waffle sale, which is on Sunday at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. I also have an in-person show in Illinois on Saturday. I'm just going to zip on over on Friday and drive back Saturday night. But the plan is to take only the old bats. The bats that have been like through a waffle sale before. And so save all the new bats for you guys. We'll see if that works. Depends on how many bats I get made. Because since I'm focused on getting the garden done. I also want to change the layout next year now that I've been in this plot for a year and I know what grows and what doesn't grow. And I planted way too much stuff too close together. And so there was a woman who had several plots near me. And she was doing sort of monoculture, mainly because she was doing like growing things like amaranth, not for dyeing, but for the leaves to cook and sort of like spinach and all that. But she did this thing where the plots are 20 long by 12 wide, and she had like made 4 rectangular mounds on each 20-foot plot. And so that inspired me to not directly copy her. I mean, I could. But I would still have trouble reaching the middle. In fact, I had a few places where I actually didn't plant anything. I am for the most part, I feel like English cottage garden where it's like you plant stuff everywhere, right? And that looked really, like my marigolds did so well. Of course, I didn't save any of the flowers for dyeing. I should have. I was not organized enough. Now that I know what I'm doing, I can plan more. But I'm thinking, I've already got a path down the middle, so I've got 2 roughly 5-foot sections, long strips. But I'm thinking of now dividing those long strips into smaller plots. And so I could do one that was all indigo, and I could do one that was like all herbs, and one that was all tomatoes. And I think that would solve some of my problems. Also be easier just to harvest and keep track of things and pin stuff up. And I know what tomato plants were successful this year. The grape and of course the sun gold. The sun gold cherries were like gangbusters. Those I am always going to plant. But the grape tomatoes did really well, and they were just generic grape tomato plants that I got at the grocery store. I want to plant more onions. The initial plan was to plant a bunch of onions, and I only got some planted. And my whole plan was all the red ones would be on the north side, and all the yellow ones would be on the south side, which I did do. But I just didn't get very many planted. I have a lot of little rotted onion starts that have just sort of been hanging around. So I'm going to be more deliberate about those and get them in earlier. Some of my garden neighbors, those are the first things they planted were the onions. And so I want to do that. I also want to get more shallots. I had a friend who gave me like 5 little shallot start things. And I've only found 2 of them. They were in a section that got taken over by a basil plant, and then a bunch of weeds, and then mint. And so I think there's maybe 2 to 3 other shallots buried in the shrubbery and jungle. So yesterday I was out harvesting the last, and I left the onions too long. I had a couple that were starting to sprout. They were getting some good roots on them. So I will try and remember to do that earlier next year. It's still good. Just the ones that are sprouting I'll use first. Maybe those will be the ones that go in the tabbouleh. I like a little onion, not a lot, a little onion in the tabbouleh. And I'm actually, I know a lot of Americans make it with cucumber in it. I don't like it because I feel the cucumber gets slimy if it sits for more than a day or so. And so I'm very much a tabbouleh should be half parsley with a good handful of mint in there, and then the grain. And that's, and then some salt and a little bit of onion and, some lemon juice, of course. But I'm not into like adding the tomatoes and the cucumber and all that. I could have the cucumbers and the tomatoes on the side as a little extra additional salad. I prefer them just, really just sort of plain. Though I am going to, the broth I use, I'm actually going to try it with bone broth, up the protein content. My van in for service yesterday, and got some knitting done. And of course, it turned really cold yesterday, so everybody who walked into the service place was like, "Oh, good idea! Yeah, you're gonna need one of those." I'm working on a shawl, which I'm sure they thought was a scarf, but because we were under wind advisory. It was so cold, and just like. Car door snatched out of my hand, and I was late getting there because my mechanic has, they used to be in the center of town. One of the reasons I picked them, because I could then walk there and all that. They've now moved to the edge of town, but right next to the recycling center. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to go out there, I've got to bring the recycling. And it was so windy that so I don't have recycling pickup at my condo anymore. The wind was blowing things out of the tub I had, the recycling. So I was like chasing stuff around the parking lot because I didn't want to litter. If you have any name suggestions for this one, please pop it in the comments. Okay, this is all I got left for the fire star, so we'll ration it a little bit. I can sort of check to see how full we're getting. So yeah, I gotta get some work done on the van. I've been driving it so much. And I've been to Indiana, and Michigan, and Texas, and Colorado, and North Dakota, and Missouri, and coming up, I'm going next. Illinois, and then Arkansas, and then Wisconsin. I'm putting the miles on it, but it's it's a 2012, so it's an older vehicle. So I got to get some work done on it. Got one last camping at a festival trip coming up. Fortunately, it's further south. Because I don't think I would camp in Iowa right now. Okay, so that. Let's do a little of this. Oh, what's that? What is that? I think it's a bamboo. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. It's actually a fire star. Just keep checking the thickness. The Coopworth is very fluffy. Or, no. Maybe not fluffy is the word. It's very frizzy. Frizzy. Which means it's got a lot of air in it, or traps a lot of air in it. So it's kind of hard to tell thickness-wise. This is, when I take it off, it will be sort of frizzy. And that's just the nature of Coopworth. Purple. Green. This is the Tessa silk. And you can see it didn't dye all the way through. So you get a little bit of this light brown. Fawn, maybe. Some people call that honey Tessa. It's sort of the color of honey. We might make this our last layer. I mean, I've got this amount left, but I'm feeling like this might be... It's not clinging to the liquor in yet. But it is looking pretty full. If I sort of get down and look across there. Let's see how much of this we want to use. Looking to see if there's sort of any naked areas where we want a little contrast. Okay, I think we're done. Okay, let me move this out of the way. Yeah, there's not going to be a second one because I don't have any more of that fire star. Okay, let's pull out scale. If you're watching at home, this is your time to guess how much this weighs. My guess is not too heavy, because that ball of roving I'd used for another bat, and it was a 4-ounce ball, so my guess is there's, roughly 2 ounces there, very roughly. But then, of course, I added bamboo is heavy, silk is not. Like if you look at a 1-ounce bag of silk versus a 1-ounce bag of bamboo, there will be a lot more silk in that bag because it's much lighter than the bamboo. Okay, we're going to take this left-hand side. Everything you watch on my videos is reversed because I'm on an Android phone. So I press that back down into the doffer crease there. And then we'll get our knitting needle again in case we need to loosen up any fiber. Like right here, I can already see there's some sticking a little bit. And I will say Coopworth is rather clingy. The easiest thing to get off is merino top, because that is just straight. So as long as your teeth aren't bent, this is not too bad. So after this, I'm going to put some of the pesto I made this morning in ice cube trays and pop it in the freezer. And then I'm going to go out to the garden again and get more basil. So there we go. Look how thick that is. Okay. That is... that is thick. That's the Coopworth. That is all the crimp in there. All that frizz. Okay, so we're going to weigh this. So if you do have questions, pop them in the comments. I will, whether you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, and I will get back to you. Facebook is not showing me comments in the group as usual. Okay, turn that on. Look how big and fluffy that is. It looks like it's going to weigh a lot, but guess how much you think it weighs? Closest person, and if there's only one of you watching, then you win. Okay, tear it out to 0. Okay, it is 2.275, so that makes it 2.8. We round things in this house. Smaller piece of paper. So 2.28 ounces. Okay. So this should be available at, unless somebody snaps it up, at my waffle sale, which is, you can watch either on my AriBo Arts page, or you can watch on the Wool and Fiber Arts page, not the group, the page, and because they will share it from my page to theirs. Admins, normally I admin because I've got my in-person show this weekend. I will not be adminning this weekend. I should volunteer for somebody, but I will not be adminning. So 3:30 Eastern on Sunday. Okay, and I'm gonna have some gifts. I just got some brand new charms for some really cool earrings. So I'll be making some earrings probably tomorrow night. So tune in for that as well. Whether you want to save it for the gift-giving holidays that are coming up, or perhaps gift them to yourself. Okay, I wish you a very, very pleasant week, and I will see you around on social media.